What's up?
Saw, dude.
I'm glad we're back.
Back in black.
Yeah, we are back in black, aren't we?
Yep. So, what are we doing today?
Today we're going to be having a nice conversation, nice brotherly conversation, talking about all the things that make us so awesome.
I know, right? The list goes on and on. We're going to be here a long time.
Feel free to excuse yourself at any point in time if you happen to run out of things to talk about how awesome you are. I'll continue because I have more things that make me awesome.
Okay, that's cool. That'll work.
Are you going to rebut it or not?
Whatever keeps the conversation going.
No, but what I'm saying is if we're talking about things that make us awesome, I said excuse yourself because you're going to run out of things while I continue to keep talking about things
only think
that make me awesome because I have
you
more
were born
things.
After me. I was born before you, so I've been out here doing this longer. My list is longer. It always will be.
Okay.
So anyways.
Well, that's true because you can have an awesome brother to that list. Well, technically I could too.
You could, technically. Except he's not here anymore.
I would do it. You're pretty cool.
All right, that's good. So there's a really interesting situation that happened yesterday, and this has to do with the whole being disciplined and, showing up and pushing through adversity, right? So we had a guy on the crew, and he had been with us for about 3 weeks, and this dude, he would show up, and he was always late. Always late, always like 5 minutes late, like consistently 5
right
minutes
there
late.
at it, yeah.
Yep, like every single day. And so, whenever somebody new starts with me, I don't really say a whole lot because I just start feeding them rope. I want to see if they'll swing with it or swing from it
Or hang themselves.
and that's what swing from it means.
Oh.
Anyway, anyway, so I'm just feeding this dude rope for about 3 weeks, right? 2 weeks, and he's late every single day. And finally, I'm like, all right, I got to say something about this because it's been 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, like, hey man, look, like you have got to start showing up on time. Like everybody else has to show up on time. Nobody's gonna make an exception for you. Like you have to show up on time. Or I was like, look, up front in the office, they're watching all that stuff. They know you've been late. I'm sure they've probably already contacted your staffing agency because the dude was a temp. And I was like, look, if you don't shape up, they're going to get rid of you. You don't got to worry about me so much as them. So he was like, oh, man, what do you mean? Like, they don't like me being 5 minutes late. I'm just like, dude, no, you can't be 5 minutes late. Like, we start at this time. You must be here at this time.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, man, come on, whatever, you know what I mean? So
kind of didn't really let it bother him too much.
Yeah, he didn't really care or whatever. So, and of course, everybody else up front knows about what's going on because they're always asking me and they're always checking the cameras, whatever. So yesterday, it was before we all really got started with the day, and one of the supervisors from inside came out. We were just sitting there chit-chatting or whatever. He looks over at that dude and he asked me, he was like, was he late again today? I was like, yeah. So he walks over and he like kind of is like, hey man, like, you need to show up on time. And you haven't even been here 90 days and you're already been late every single day. Like, you need to make sure you get here on time. So anyways, they said what they had to say and walked off. And the other dude came over. He's like, hey man, like, I can't deal with all this negative energy. I'm out, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, he's like, I'm trying to do something good. You feel me? And I'm trying to, teach my kids that it's cool to have a job and this and that and the other. And, they're making a big deal over me being 5 minutes late. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're trying to set an example for your children. You're sitting there wanting to show them that it's cool to have a job. It's a good thing to get up and go to work every day. But you're sitting here telling me that because somebody got on your case a little bit about showing up on time, you're going to just quit.
And he wants to show his kids a good example.
This is what you want to show your kids?
This is the example that you want to show.
This is the example you want them to see. So I'm just like, dude, it's 5 minutes. Show up 5 minutes sooner. You're fine.
The thing is, though, that I get from that is he's being consistent. So that tells me that he is consistent at something. He just needs to discipline himself to be there a little bit earlier. That's so easy. That's crazy. Was his name Michael?
No.
Okay.
But he was like, he was like, I couldn't believe it. I'm just like, how do you not see what this actually looks like? Like, you're consistently 5 minutes late, and I'll give you points for consistency, but leave a couple minutes sooner.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You know, it's like, and then I told him, I was like, well, you're trying to, you know, walk the straight and narrow or whatever. You're trying to do a good thing, but the very first little bit of it wasn't even really opposition. It's just they were telling him, as they should have, that he needed to be on time.
It was just something that was brought to his attention.
You're going to let that derail you from this? Like a 5-minute thing that you could easily fix?
Yeah.
Like, you need to be disciplined. You need to push through stuff like this. And he just... that convinced him to stay a little bit, but it wasn't long at all. Like 20 minutes later, he was like, "Hey, man, I'm just done. So I'm just like, well, I mean, look, I'm not going to force you to stay. If you really don't want to be here, then like I'd rather you weren't here either, because I mean, what we do, you need to want to do it. Otherwise, you're going to get somebody hurt."
Yeah.
So he was like, "Yeah," we just said our goodbyes. He walked off, and that was it. Like, I couldn't believe it. I'm just like,
5 minutes.
They asked you to be on time. 5 minutes. Like, and you're wanting to show your kids that it's cool to have a job, but you're like, just people these days with lack of discipline, lack of motivation. I'm seeing a lot of that combined with people making excuses because they have anxiety, and which is the biggest joke. It's so stupid, right? Everybody has anxiety. Everybody is anxious about something, right?
Yeah, it's only human.
When you can't let anxiety cripple you to the point where you can't perform. I mean, what's the point of waking up and going outside your door every day if you're like, oh, anxiety. Like,
oh, anxiety's out there. I can't go.
Yeah, anxiety might be out there. It might get me.
Let me DoorDash my meds.
And it's just, and the lack of not being teachable.
So let's talk about that for a minute. That's a good discussion. That you brought up about anxiety and how it cripples people. A lot of people, I've seen people that actually, and young people, like early 20s, come to work. These are people that have been on anxiety medicine, and they might have happened to run out and not really planned when they're going to get their refill or so on. And it was a night and day difference. I've had like one of the best employees that used to work for me. He showed up one day. It was like a Monday probably. He didn't take his medicine. He either ran out or forgot it. He was like a nervous. I mean, his anxiety was through the roof, and he was like unable to function how he normally should. And he was saying he wasn't feeling good and might be leaving after lunch, might be leaving after first break. Didn't know how he was going to feel. He was just like, I was like, bro, like, the dependency on that anxiety medicine is what got you to this point. Like, that's what caused this.
Yep.
Like, you don't need to be taking anxiety medicine unless you're going through like a extremely traumatizing event. Like, say you've lost a loved one that was very close to you, or I've actually heard a story from a good friend of mine who was a counselor, and he had a friend, and his wife had gone out for a girls' night, notorious girls' night. So long story short, she had sex with a homeless guy under a bridge, and it was somehow she videotaped it, or it was videotaped somehow. So you imagine the kind of anxiety that someone might be having. That, I believe, is like truly crippling anxiety. If you really love a woman,
rough.
If you really love a woman, especially your wife, and she might be the mother of your children, and all of a sudden, like, she goes out to have fun with the girls and she has sex with a homeless man under a bridge and makes a video, like, take all the medication that you need until you feel better, because that is pretty rough.
It doesn't get much more degenerate than that.
Honestly, yeah. Something like that, it's like, okay, obviously that's not going to kill you. It's an extremely traumatizing event, and yeah, modern medicine could step in and
take the edge
alter the chemical reaction that your brain's having, which is being expressed through your emotions and how you feel. That's understandable. That doesn't happen every day, but just for everyday normal anxiety, like, I mean, we're all anxious about things.
Here's the thing. I think that instead of being dependent on medicine, right? Because I've been through a lot. I'm not going to go into everything. You know a lot of, what it's been, and even other stuff that I still haven't shared with you, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, never once have I taken medicine, and I've been through some stuff.
You've never taken medicine that I've seen,
right?
Ever?
I've never smoked weed. I've never been like hooked on alcohol. Even I've never any medication, over the counter or prescribed, nothing like that, right? And what people don't understand is that life is going to come at you, and you cannot allow that to drive you to being dependent on all these other things.
Yeah.
Literally the only reason that I was able to get through things, and this is God's honest truth, is because of my relationship with Jesus Christ and the fact that I face my problems head on and I just deal with it right then and there as much as I can. Right?
Yeah.
The problem with this whole anxiety thing is that people don't deal with what makes them anxious. So that problem begins to grow.
Snowballs.
And because they never dealt with the problem and they started taking medicine to help cope with it, now you have two problems.
Yep.
Because this hasn't been dealt with. Now you've got your medicine and stuff to kind of help keep you in like this sane sort of state, I suppose, right? But it's still there. And if you're not able to have your medicine, you fall to pieces.
Yep.
So it would be so much more beneficial to face whatever it is that makes you anxious and just continue to face it until you've got whatever it is beat.
Sure.
Right? Because like cures like. Whatever, when we had Houston as a guest on here, right? There was a lot of things that were kind of holding him back at the job. And I would force him to face those things and to eventually conquer them. And he was able to push past all that and start succeeding in other things that he was doing as when he moved out of that job into other things. So you have to, running from a problem is just delaying an inevitable outcome. That problem is going to catch you at some point.
And it's going to be much worse when it does.
It's going to be much worse. You might as well just get it as soon as you can and face it then and there and keep facing it until you have victory over whatever it is.
I just thought of a good analogy too, me being in the gym and active and fit, and you as well. I know I've taken more of a powerlifting type of approach to things, and with heavy weights does come some injuries, and everyone's going to get injured, but it's how you deal with it. And the best piece of advice that I could give, say you're benching heavy and then you end up with a pec strain at the insertion of your shoulder. It's super common with a heavy bench press. Now, let's say that could be equivalent to the anxiety. Now I'm going to take a pain blocker, and that's going to mask that pain. So now I'm feeling great. I'm still injured. That problem is still there, but I'm going to mask the pain. So now it's being suppressed and I don't feel it. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to bench even more. And guess what's going to eventually happen? I'm going to snap my pec off and I'm going to need surgery. And it's going to be like 6 months versus 6 weeks off from the gym. And when I go back, I'm going to have atrophied. I'm going to have probably a 50% or more strength reduction.
Yeah,
probably more, probably like 80%.
You're going to have to build from zero at that point. So it's going to take you 3 to 4 times as long than it would have if you just laid off for 5 or 6 weeks, let it heal, built it up some with some lighter recovery workouts and things.
Yep.
And then you could have been on your way and probably made some better gains after that. Because when things are like that and they heal back, they always heal back stronger.
And that actually brings up another point too, when you said that you need to just face these things. That right there could be considered, if you're still talking about weightlifting and gaining muscle, that could be equivalent to the micro tears that happen when you're putting your muscle under that load and tension. Those fibers tear, but then they build back in just a couple days because it's a micro tear. And then on the flip side, that is how you get stronger.
Yep.
So all this stuff, all the process of being torn down to build back up stronger, it's really applicable to every part of life in general.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's going to become even more and more the whole thing about anxiety and anxious people. It's going to become very, very predominant, especially in years to come.
And people just don't know how to face the problem.
They don't know how to face problems because I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but especially in the next like 3 years, there's going to be I'm just going to call it right now.
Start investing.
2025, there's a lot of people going to die in 2025. 26 and 27, there's going to be lots of natural disasters and wars. Lots more people are going to die. And people that are already not able to cope with life now when it's easy, when it actually does get hard, because right now life is easy, okay? Some people think, oh, things are crazy. This is a cakewalk, right, compared to what's coming. In the next couple of years, and especially when things like that go down, people aren't going to be able to get their medicine. They're not going to be able to, it's just going to be pandemonium. People are going to be freaking out.
Yep. And
now is the time to really start facing things that will hold you back.
Yeah, that's good.
And the sad part is that most people still, I think a lot more people are becoming aware of this stuff and they're wanting to take steps, but most people are still just kind of oblivious to the whole thing. And it's going to catch them with their pants down, and they're just it's going to make it even worse. You know what I mean? Because they weren't expecting it.
Sure. Blindsided. And you know what's interesting too, that you said people are starting to become more aware. Seems like here lately there's been a shift in the positive direction where people are now more health conscious. How many more protein snacks do you see in grocery stores and convenience stores where stuff has high protein, high fiber, zero sugar, but it's not sweetened with sucralose. It's sweetened with stevia leaf or monk fruit. There's all these things that are now, people are finally starting to wake up and realize that the things you were consuming before is poison. All of that processed bullshit junk food is poison. And that's why people are so fat and obese. And I believe that's definitely a huge factor for childhood issues early on, like ADHD and all these other things, and anxiety.
I was about to say that. Like, that could also be a attributing factor to anxiety as well, because if you're, all that food that's not really real food,
chemicals,
it'll mess with your chemical balance or imbalance,
neurological makeup,
your neurological makeup, and that can cause those issues. And the cool thing about people, right, is that we kind of sort of have a collective conscience in a way. And this has been studied so many times, so many experiments have been done. It's not just people, it's animals too. And that's how they kind of figured it out, right? Remember that story about the monkeys on the one island with the bananas?
Yeah.
Right? They started washing their bananas before they ate them. And then, like, these monkeys on this particular island, all of them were doing that. Didn't have anything to do with monkeys on the next island, but somehow those monkeys on the other island also got into their head, hey, we're going to start washing our bananas before we eat them. And soon all the monkeys on all the islands were doing this.
Interesting.
So what you were saying about people becoming more aware, it started with just a couple people, and then it begins to snowball. And somehow or another, like, when, I think it's got to do with the law of vibration, when everybody is on the same path in the same direction, I think it's contagious.
Sure.
Because people will get on this pathway, right, of like being fit, being healthy, being aware of their surroundings, taking an interest in what happens around them as far as, like the political sphere and the like natural stuff going on with the planet. So when people become more focused on everything, it's kind of like in the Bible where God came down and confused the languages at the Tower of Babel, because he said, they're all of one mind, and if they all are united towards a single goal, there's nothing that will be withheld from them. So there you have it.
That's good.
There's your proof right there. As long as we all unite and focus our attention and energy in a single direction towards a single goal, there's no end to what we could possibly achieve.
Yeah.
And we're seeing how, how that's the case. People are a lot more health conscious. And there's still, lots of progress to be made, but it's happening.
Well, and now, too, what they're trying to do is they're trying to take that and leverage it against us in such a way that they're now saying, okay, all the sheep want to be healthy and live long lives. Let's give them this medicine. Let's give them this vaccine against this new deadly virus that's going around. Let's pitch it to them that all this stuff is good and it's FDA approved, and there's no studies that show that this causes, I don't feel like editing this out later, but blood, COLOTS. Mm-hmm. So things like that, they're going to try now to leverage that against certain people and still kind of keep you in that bubble
because
of
people,
control.
I mean, at the end of the day, people are people, and they know that if they can get enough people scared, that's what COVID taught them. If they can get enough people afraid, they can direct societies and the entire world however they want them. What it's going to take is for people who think for themselves and know better to take a stand and be willing to cut against the grain, to be willing to go against the flow, to be willing to be unreasonable, right? And stand for what they truly believe and what they know is right.
Yeah, no, that's good for sure. And that just goes back to anxiety, using fear against people for a certain agenda.
They're so, like, the whole mask thing, right? So stupid. Like, there were a lot of people that didn't want to wear them, and they're like, oh, yeah, I hate masks. But guess what? You see them out and about, they be wearing a mask.
I still see people wearing them outside.
Yeah, every once in a while, you'll see somebody with it. And it's just like, why? Why?
That's definitely protecting you from anything that could possibly
100%.
harm you. Like, they're safe.
100%.
They're definitely safe.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to, croak or anything. But it's just, you got to be, like, when that whole thing was going on, I was the only one in Walmart without a mask. I would walk by people grinning, waving, saying hi, whatever. They're all like...
I remember one time we went to go eat somewhere, and it was me and you. The guy at the front door asked us, he said, you guys have masks? And we said, no, we both have a health condition. We're not required to wear one. And he lowered his tone a little bit. He's like, that's all you need to say. And they let us in. We walk in, no mask, sit down. Everyone's kind of like, who are these people?
Yep, I remember that. That was funny.
We're not pussies.
We're not afraid of this, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I think is funny, right? On TikTok, there was this this dude. He was a lefty. He was going live talking about why the Make America Great Again people don't live in reality. And I feel bad for the dude because he's a reasonable dude, right? He looks up the statistics of things and he's like, well, this says that, this, that, and the other, whatever. It's a reasonable thing to do.
Yep.
Right? He's following what the numbers are showing him. But the problem is that because the people that control the information put whatever out there.
Well, they can put whatever information they want.
Exactly. They can make you believe whatever they want. They just control the information. They put what they want out there. It doesn't have to be true.
Well, that's why Donald Trump's so advocate against fake news.
Yeah. But the thing is, right, people are getting on these things saying, oh, the economy is so bad. But he's like, oh, no, the statistics are showing this and inflation's not that bad and the stock market's doing good and it's up and this and that and the other. But the problem is that the statistics don't match the evidence that people's eyes are showing them. And that's the problem. That was the problem with the whole COVID-19 scamdemic. That's the problem with the whole, thing right now where everybody's saying, oh, yeah, Biden's been a great president. The numbers are showing this and that and that. He's been great. But the evidence that people see with their eyes, they're encouraged to disregard because the numbers don't match that.
Yeah, and we're taught to believe the numbers.
You're taught to believe. That's why I really disagree with the public school system, because you're not taught to be a free thinker. You're taught to follow the book. You're taught to follow the numbers. You're not taught to be outside the box and come at things from a different perspective and a different angle. You're taught to do it this way or get out. So, yeah. I mean, during the pandemic, if it actually had been a pandemic and if all those people actually had died like they said they would, we would all know several people who passed away. I don't know a single person personally who passed away.
Yeah. And don't say certain things. I don't feel like editing this later.
Okay. Right. I tried to.
Yeah. But anyways, I want to go back to something that you said that someone else had mentioned the other day, and I thought it was really cool. So Biden is ineligible to be elected for president, right? Because I guess of his mental health condition. Yep. But the crazy part, he's president right now. Isn't that the craziest thing? If you think about it, and it's well, how is he ineligible?
So how long was he ineligible for?
He can be a president now, so if he declared martial law for some crazy reason, then that would inevitably put him in the seat of being a president for however long while he's ineligible to be reelected. That's the wildest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But it's happening right now.
Yep, it's crazy. And just, sadly, that's the way it is. And, people deny the evidence that their eyes show them, and they accept whatever they're spoon-fed by screen.
Unfortunately. And that's kind of why I think, you remember when they were wanting to ban TikTok a while ago because they said that the Chinese were stealing our data? Bullshit. I mean, it's on the internet, so anything I think that goes on the internet is able to be intercepted somewhere somehow. But what they're really afraid of is for independent reporters, which is basically what all these people are on there.
Yep.
They're all on there saying, this is what happened to me when I took this, or if you want to reverse type 2 diabetes, this is what I did for 8 weeks and it helped, or just anything. Or I live in Florida and I was at the mall when aliens showed up.
Yep.
So just anything really, and they fear that.
It's the control honestly, of information. When they don't control the information, that scares them.
Yep.
Because with technology being what it is now, people are able to communicate with each other all across the world in real time. If we all ever get loose, so to speak, right? The game is over for them.
Yeah.
Because there's way more of us than there are of them, right? I mean, it's game over. Really, it already is game over. They're scared to death right now. And
that's why they're devising all of us.
They're trying to really divide people. They're trying to distract people. They're trying everything that they possibly can, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that they're having Olympics right now and it's election year and stuff. Like all that stuff, all that nonsense.
Just a distraction.
Huge distraction. I mean, it's election year for like 40% of the world.
One of the largest in the world.
Yep.
Yeah, on the whole planet.
Just so happens to be that the entire free world is going to elect their leaders.
Yeah, which is going to be a huge pivotal moment.
A pivotal moment for sure.
One thing I wanted to go back to is the anxiety topic and kind of how that plays into, you mentioned that someone wanted to show their kids a good example by having a job, which is like, in my opinion, the bare minimum that you could possibly do. But how would that work if somebody, not just their kids, but anyone, maybe a spouse or a significant other, anything like that, someone where someone else looks up to you, it doesn't have to be a child, but they look up to you and you have anxiety. I mean, what is that telling that person that adores you and looks up to you and admires you, and you have anxiety? You're the one that is looked up to.
I think you are portraying a picture of weakness and ineptitude.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
If they look up to you for now, I really don't think they're going to look up to you for very long.
Well, here's the thing. When people, especially kids, right? as they continue to grow, like, they're not stupid, right? At some point or another, they're going to know exactly who you are as a person, right? Kids do this with their parents. Like, eventually, when you reach a certain age, you reach a certain level of intellect, you're able to kind of see who's who. You know what I mean? Like, when you're a kid, you're
still learning about the world.
You're still learning, right? And eventually, you're gonna realize, like, who's who. You know what I mean? Like, there have been divided homes where the mother is constantly putting down the dad, and the kids are swapped back and forth. Eventually, when those kids grow up, they know which parent was the issue, be it the mom or the dad.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, so that's just a really quick example of that, and it goes.
But I mean, like, what about not necessarily a child though? Just someone that looks up to you. I mean, let's just say it's your girlfriend.
Honestly, she probably wouldn't look up to me if I had something like that.
Yeah.
If I was crippled by something like that, I mean, yeah. Now, that's not to say, because I've had severe bouts with, like, depression and stuff, but I didn't let it cripple me. I didn't let it keep me down. I faced it, and I fought through it, and I beat it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's okay to deal with that stuff and to have it, but it's what you do with it that makes a difference. If you sit there, you hop on medicine for it, and you don't ever fix the problem, that's where the problem is. Right?
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing to have that as long as you're dealing with it and you're committed to making positive progress.
Yeah, I like that. that's kind of that analogy. You've ever heard about you could take a ship and put it in the middle of a stormy ocean with, massive waves, and it's being blown all around by the wind, but it's only the water that can get inside the ship that's going to sink the ship.
Yep.
So everything else that's happening around the ship is still a ship. It's still intact. It's still afloat. It might be going side to side, back and forth, and all
it looks
around.
Scary, but as long as the water ain't getting in,
but it's still stable, and it's still a ship at the end of the day, and no water has gotten inside. So, and if it does, you always see those movies where they're having these buckets and they're trying to get all the water out as fast as they can. So that's true. So that's them facing the problem.
Yep.
And if no water gets in, the ship stays afloat.
Yep.
So.
Yep. It's pretty straightforward, I would think.
Yep. So the moral of the story is don't let the water in the boat.
Right. If you're dealing with anxiety, depression, not being physically fit, you got something going on with your job, doesn't matter. Just don't let the water in the boat. Keep on pushing forward, push through.
I would wear a shirt like that.
We should probably make some shirts that say like push through and have
don't let the water in the boat.
Don't let the water in the boat. Yeah.
Whiskey only.
Cool.
That's another thing too that I thought of earlier, and I hear it so many times, and every single time I hear it, I just cringe inside. When people have had a long day at work, or they're going through something that's a trial that's testing them. I need a drink.
Yeah.
What?
It's like, or I need a cigarette. I look down on people like that.
Me too.
And I'm not afraid to say it.
Yep.
Because, like I said before, I've been through some stuff. And not once have I ever been like, oh, I need a drink. I need a cigarette. I need to put a dip in.
Yeah, I'm going to lose my mind.
Where's my medicine?
I can't find, where's my vape? I can't find my vape.
Where's my vape? You do a vape? Like, grow up. Cry about it on the way home.
Yeah, that's the same kids.
Like an adult.
That's the same kids that were like 4 years old that still had a passy.
Where's my passy?
Yeah, they're screaming and crying.
Like,
no.
Like, if you have to rely on, if you need a crutch, I mean, there might be some point in your life where you are going through to the point where, like, you just need something to kind of help you through. That's one thing. But if it's like something, like we said before, if it's constant,
if you have to rely on it,
if it becomes a part of your daily life, your daily routine, absolutely not.
Other than caffeine. Caffeine will always be a part of my daily routine.
Yeah, that's
fight me. Fight me. I love caffeine's different. Caffeine helps me face my problems faster. But if you need something to help calm you down, see, that's different. I'm using caffeine to amp myself up to face my problems.
Be crazy.
Yeah, but I'm not saying, oh, I need a drink because I have these problems. Let's break that down. I'm a huge fan of breaking things down and simplifying them. So let's just say I had a really stressful day at work, and it was hard, and I don't know how to handle this on my own, so I'm going to go ahead and have something that's going to poison my liver to make me feel relaxed and forget about it. What the fuck? What kind of... No.
It's not helpful. It's not.
It's just you're creating another problem. You're taking one problem and giving yourself another problem.
You're actually giving yourself like 3 more problems trying to deal with that one problem.
Yeah. Whereas before, if you just...
It's everything's always snowballing. It's either snowballing in a good way or in a bad way. It's up to you which way you snowball it.
Each decision you make, and this is something for everyone to remember, everything that you decide in life, each big decision is a compound decision. The same thing as compound interest in life. Yep. It's the same exact thing. So if you choose to do one good thing, that's going to lead to another good thing. It's the same thing as making your bed in the morning. It can be applied to so many other things. But on the contrary, if you decide to, let's say you start the day off and you roll out of bed late. Now you're rushing to work. Now you're rushing to maybe get something to eat. You grab a donut instead of something healthier. Well, I've already had a donut, so now it's lunchtime. I'm going to go and just get the pizza because I've already messed up for the day. Now, let's say you woke up, you got a quick workout in. Say you went to the gym for 30 minutes and you did a run or some weightlifting, go home, shower. I still got time. I'm going to have some eggs and oatmeal. You get to work. You're calm, cool, collected.
Yep.
Have your caffeine so you could face your problems as fastly as possible. Then it's lunchtime. You've done all this very productive, positive activities. I'm going to get the, chicken bowl, the avocado chicken bowl, or whatever, something healthy. And you're just going to keep on progressing through the day. So, everything is a compound decision. That's why it's good to be mindful of the decisions we make and have a clear set of goals beforehand on what your life looks like and use your short-term goals to get there. And then each decision you make, you have to ask yourself, is this pushing me closer or further away from my goal?
Yep.
Very simple.
Simplest way to come at it. That's good. I like that.
Yep. I think that's about it for today. That wraps it up. Another killer episode
of the Double Edge Uncensored.
Be sure to check out rattleenergycompany.com. They're going to be doing some giveaways here in the next couple months, so stay tuned for that, and check out Calculated Survival.
Yeah, check out Calculated Survival. They got all kinds of cool survival stuff, throwing knives, throwing hatchets, all kinds of good other things too. Go check them out. You won't regret it.
Nice.
All right. Till next time, you guys, stay dangerous.